From 1983 to 2001, around 4,000 deaths occurred between the Ford Explorer and Bronco models. Ford was presented with the decision on how to modify the Explorer to solve the problem of rolling over. There were a few options for fixing the problem, but it was decided to forego a proper fix and settle with one that did not actually solve the issue. We are here to discuss the various ethical issues that they were faced with.
In 1983, Ford released the Bronco 2. Ford ran into quite a few design flaws in 1982 before the Bronco's release, but they refused to fix them. In 1986, the Bronco was not recalled. In 1989, Ford found 3 ways to fix the problem: widen the track width, lower the vehicle, or lower tire pressure. Ford chose to lower tire pressure, and that just caused more problems. Then, there was a 10-year period from 1991 to 2001 where around 3,800 people died from a Ford Bronco or Explorer flipping. The problems were finally fixed in 2002.
Now we will discuss data integrity and representation. The Ford Explorer was an adopted design from the Ford Bronco 2. The Explorer was intended to appeal to a larger audience. Another set of seats were added to the Explorer, however, it was 600 pounds heavier, and the suspension and tires were not upgraded to carry the load. The Explorers, as well as the Bronco 2, were known to roll over whenever driving around sharp turns at low to high speeds. In 1986, a National Highway Traffic Safety Administration engineer, Anna Harwin, was assigned to the initial Ford Explorer rollover investigation. Harwin found a consistent relationship between the center of gravity height and the track width versus rollover in vehicles. There is a static stability factor which is calculated by the track width divided by 2 times the height of the base of the wheels to below the headlights. The lower the stability factor, the greater the chance that the vehicle will roll over. NHTSA got involved again because of an increase of SUV models with rollover incidents. They conducted a defect investigation on the Bronco 2 from 1988 to 1990. The NHTSA's investigation was incomplete due to Ford holding back key Bronco 2 stability testing failure documents that NHTSA requested. NHTSA did not perform tests of their own and did not question Ford about the documents they were given. They closed the case and stated, "There appears to be no reasonable expectation that further investigation will lead to a determination of the existence of a safety-related defect with respect to any of the allegations regarding the prosperity of the Bronco 2. Between 1983 and 2001, 3,826 people were killed from Ford Bronco 2 and Explorer rollovers. A Texas lawyer, Frank Branson, that often dealt with Ford, said he can't remember encountering a defendant who set about in a more orchestrated way to conceal evidence from the public's eye and from disclosure in courtrooms.
In the article, we see that Ford had several ethical issues. A major issue was the accountability to clients and customers. So what was the major problem with Ford being accountable, you might ask? The answer is quite simple, actually. Just from the very first paragraph, you come to find out that in the year of 2001, Ford Motor Company recalled and replaced 13 million Firestone tires, which were on a major selling vehicle known as the Ford Explorer. This was intentional because Ford was trying to cover up their tracks with the well-known rollover problem, so they tried to return the blame to Bridgestone/Firestone Tire Company for the main reason of the Explorer rollovers. However, this was a poor attempt by Ford because during the 10-year period with the Ford and Firestone-related Explorer issues, there was a total of 300 deaths. However, more than 12,000 people died in SUV rollover crashes, which were unrelated to tire failure. It is important to note that these crashes contained all different models of vehicles. This is just one incident to show how Ford was accountable to their clients. Now on to the customers. This goes on to the ethical issues, but it relates. In the article, you are informed 113 documents were collected that were specifically related to the Bronco 2 program reports, test requests, test plans, simulation analysis. 53 of these documents disappeared. It then goes on to that this poor document handling foreshadowed the Bronco 2 in lawsuits. The major thought of this is that Ford knew that there were major issues with the vehicle. Instead, they would rather delete proof, that way they couldn't get trapped into a corner if major issues were to surface. In a sense, that doesn't seem very ethical to do to the consumers, as you are toying with their lives. Just note that this is only one ethical issue demonstrated by Ford. There are still some in which will be discussed.
Both the Bronco 2 and the Explorer both suffered from the same issues. Both vehicles were developed on the Ranger platform with little to no chassis changes, but an added 600 pounds and a taller center of gravity. The engineers suggested a couple solutions to prevent the rollover issues, including the increased track width right here, lowering the vehicle, which would lower this height, and also lowering tire pressure. But due to the marketing cells not wanting to change the release date, the decision was against the engineer's opinion and was to just lower the tire pressure on the Explorer. This caused tire failures. This is where the whole Bridgestone-Firestone incident came in, but that wasn't the whole issue for the rollovers. If it had not been for the pressure to meet production date from the business end, the engineers could have correctly fixed the issue like what was later done in 2002.
Many of Ford's problems relating to the deaths, major trials, legal problems that they had came from their stubbornness to promote the Bronco 2 and the Explorer and get them on the correct release date, along with ignoring major engineering issues. The first one that they came across was putting the Bronco 2 and the Explorer both on the same chassis as the Ford Ranger. They did not upgrade springs, tire pressures, the chassis, anything like that. They simply shipped it out, even though these SUVs were around 600 pounds heavier. A new design would delay Ford a couple years. It put them behind their competition, the Chevy S10 Blazer, by a year, and would have saved $300 million. Doing these things was not a bad idea, and it should be something every engineer should consider. However, between the design and verification process, looking into that should have shown them that it was not a great design. And between 81 and 82, problems immediately surfaced. Engineers recommended it should be 4 inches wider, and they said my bare minimum at least 2 inches, and they told Ford that 3 or 4 times, and Ford continually decided to go against it. Problems arose, deaths were lost, nearly 4,000 people died, and Ford continued to win battles in trial, saying that they had lost evidence or that was a trade secret and could not be released. Looking back, Ford should have tested more and paid attention to the tests that the engineers designed. Engineers, like I said, were adamant several times about widening the base. They should not have lied about knowledge, should have immediately responded to these lethal problems. It would be one thing if they had no clue, and as soon as they found out, they changed it. However, that was not Ford's decision. They went with their gut and thought that would be best. So in the end, Ford chose money and market opportunity after safety and quality of their products. An awful choice for a major automotive manufacturer. In conclusion, Ford was after only a couple things. That was profits, being ahead of the competition, and market opportunity. As a result, almost 4,000 people died. Ford lied, saying they had lost designs, saying that there was a trade secret that they couldn't release. They won many trials over 14 years, and people continued to die. They could not swallow their pride, and they did not want to go back on their designs and what they released. Instead, Ford should have tested more extensively and listened to the tests that they ran. Several times engineers recommended that they should have a 4-inch wider base, or the bare minimum a 2-inch base. And they should have not lied to the public or blamed Firestone or the tire company or anyone else out on their problems. They should have been honest as soon as they could and called a recall on it. All these decisions I just mentioned were highly unethical, and it may have only been the decisions of a couple executive members of Ford Motor Company, however reflected on the entire company. And to this day, we still talk about it, we still know about it. So thank you for watching, and please remember to do your research next time you're purchasing an SUV.